Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Nico Nostalgia here, and welcome to my review of Stranger Things. As soon as I saw the trailer for this, I knew this was going to be very interesting, and it was on my calendar immediately because I love things that are nostalgic and retro, as you might have noticed by my name. This review is something that I debated on having spoilers or spoiler free, and to be quite honest, I find it impossible. I've tried to do a spoiler free review for this, and I end up saying things that I really don't think you guys should know unless you watch it, so there will be spoilers in this review. I'm not going to be touching on everything in this. This isn't really going to be a recap. I might do a recap later on as we get closer to season 2, but nevertheless, you're going to want to go watch this show before you watch this review. There are only 8 episodes in this season. It is not a slow burn, and I feel like they deliver the goods very quickly. It's very binge-worthy. You're going to get to the end of each episode, and you're going to want to click play and continue to watch to see what happens. And I feel like this season delivered the goods at the end. It didn't really make you feel like they set you up for something else. It's not very frustrating, but they're definitely alluding to another season. There's definitely going to be more here. I have nothing but positive things to say about this show. And that's something that's very rare. Usually there will be a problem, something that irritates you about a show. I was not irritated at all. I absolutely loved everything about it, from the set design to the casting decisions, just to the overall story and plot. The fact that they have several throwbacks to films that we grew up watching in the 80s. This is very much a love letter to kids of the 80s. They mention everything from Dungeons and Dragons to New Order. If you remember who they were back in the day, they mentioned movies. There are several references to movies, and I don't know if they were intentional. I'm sure they were, but they're definitely paying homage, if you will, to Spielberg movies, Stephen King. There's some John Carpenter in there. You're going to get a lot of your childhood nostalgia wrapped up in a neat little bundle, but they make it their own. It doesn't feel like they're ripping anybody off. There was a scene where Eleven was sitting on a sofa, or like a love seat. And I remembered that from my childhood. I remember one of my friends who I used to hang out with back in the 80s when we were kids. His mom had that exact love seat, and it just clicks with you. I mean, these guys understood what they were doing. Everything that you see on this show is going to be something that somebody remembers from their childhood. There's most likely going to be some artifact somewhere in the show, some sort of piece of furniture or set design that you're going to say, oh my god, I used to have that, and I can't believe they knew to put that in there. I mean, when I got to the end of this show, I ended up opening up Messenger on Facebook with my mom and saying, hey, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And of course she remembered them. She thought I had lost my mind, and I was once again in one of my nostalgic moods that I often have. But I explained to her to watch the show. This isn't really a show for everyone. I don't think it'll appeal really to her, because it leans more on the side of sci-fi or fantasy, if you will. And people that are more grounded and they like more realistic stuff, it's just not going to be for you. But nevertheless, I think that they really channeled all of the generations in the 80s. We have the kids, and then we have the high school kids, and then we have the adults. So there's something here, I think, for everyone, but you definitely have to suspend your disbelief, and you have to have an open mind to science fiction and things of that sort. I mean, there's a reason why this show is called Stranger Things, and it's not because the 80s was a strange decade, and I do think that the 80s was definitely kind of a strange decade, especially if you take a look at the pop culture. And I mean, who remembers watching MTV and seeing all the music videos that were just way out there? It's like everyone was just perpetually taking acid in the 80s. But yeah, it's the fact that they're going with this story that is basically there's these monsters in another dimension, or in the upside down, as they call it. I really enjoyed that, and it kind of channeled The Gate. If any of you out there remember that movie back in the day, it felt like they were going for that as like their main theme, but they made it their own. I still have questions. I want to know where this monster came from. Are there more monsters? I'm thinking there are going to be more, because we did see a scene where there was an egg, and it looked like something had hatched out of it. Not only that, but one of the characters that was killed, she had something come out of her mouth, and then at the end of the season, we saw Will have something come out of his mouth, then go down the drain. It makes you think, was this thing going to go down into the sewer and mutate and take over? I don't know, but it seems like they're kind of incubating inside of their human hosts, which very much channels Alien. albeit in a far less savage manner. Nobody comes bursting out of your chest with a top hat on, singing, "Hello, my baby, hello, my darling, hello, my ragtime girl." You don't have any of that going on. So that's a good thing. We didn't lose Will. At least it doesn't appear that we've lost him, but in the next season, things could shift to a very dark tone. It's very ominous. We don't know if this kid's going to be okay or not. We don't know what's going on with the sheriff. Did he somehow make an arrangement with this shadow government? What's going on here? So there are questions that are left over at the end of the series, but as I said, it's a very satisfactory ending. You'll have to forgive me, I meant season, not series, but nevertheless, there is a bit of a cliffhanger there, so you want to see it follow up. Now, I absolutely loved the fact that people are just kind of around you, but you can't see them. So it kind of goes off of the string theory thing and the alternate dimensions thing. And I loved that. The fact that when the monster moves around, you can see where it's moving through the lights and it tries to come through the wall. And I loved when she tore the wallpaper down and she could kind of see like this bloody looking wall, but at the same time she could see her kid. And I think this is a good moment to comment on Winona Ryder's performance, which I felt was very strong. I had spoken with some people that felt like her character was a little annoying, like she was a bit over the top. I do not feel that way at all. This is a mother whose kid has been taken from her and is literally in her walls. Okay, this is something that is going to have a profound effect on your state of mind. Now, they do kind of hint to the fact that she wasn't always mentally stable, per se, from the onset, but at the same time, you can just kind of see her sanity slowly going away. She gets phone calls, and she can hear her kid breathing, and I thought that was really clever because I found myself sitting there thinking, is he in the house in another dimension before they even revealed anything? Is he in the house calling her from that very phone? Is that what's happening? And it seems like that's what was happening. At least that's what I took from it. And at the point where I really figured out what was going on is when the girl was dragged down into the pool, when she was bleeding into the pool, and she was dragged down, and then it picks up after that. The next episode, I think, was the third or fourth one, when she tries to climb out of the pool and she's dragged down in. I knew right then and there, okay, we're talking about a different dimension that's kind of like a mirror of our own. Now, they did say that El had created this gate, or doorway, if you will, in between the two different dimensions, but they don't really explain how that happened. If they did, I didn't really pick up on it. I don't know how it was opened. I would like to see how it happened, the precise moment when it happened, and what's with the door looking very organic. It's got like a heartbeat, and it seems like it's alive. And we also noticed there are different ways of getting in and out of this dimension. We saw a scene where in the forest there was a doorway in a tree. So it seems like there are different entrance ways. I don't know if the monster can open those up or what's going on with that, but that wasn't really very well explained in my opinion. So as I stated, there are things that are there that you are wondering. Maybe I wasn't quick enough to pick up on them. Maybe some of you did. But I think that they're leaving these things for the next season, and hopefully the next season is just as strong as this one, because this is one of those shows where it delivers so well. You have to wonder at the end, how are they ever going to match that or one up that in the slightest? A lot of shows do this. They come out swinging at first, and then they're not really able to follow up. I hope that the show does not suffer from that. Now, going back to Winona Ryder's character for a bit, I do tend to get ahead of myself. I apologize for that. It's very cool to see her just kind of feeling isolated, right? It's kind of like seeing something fantastic in just how isolating that must feel. You're the only one who's seeing these things. You're questioning your own sanity. Is this real? And nobody believes her. Everybody's treating her like she's absolutely out of her mind until the chief starts to find out what's going on himself. And it's just a sigh of relief when you feel that she's no longer alone. People are starting to see things that she's seeing as well. The kids start to see things. And once that all comes together towards the end of the series, they all say, okay, this is really happening. We're all seeing this. You've seen it. He's seen it. She's seen it. Now, what the hell are we going to do about it? It was very satisfying that they came to that conclusion. But the way that they left you kind of lingering there and feeling sorry for her, and, at the same time, I was kind of questioning, is this really happening, or is she just out of her mind? Is this something that's all in her head? I think it was a very clever writing decision. When she ran out and got all of those Christmas lights and hung them up, and the fact that she was trying to communicate with her son versus 2 for no, 1 for yes, 2 for no, and she put the alphabet up on her wall so that her kid could talk with her. And this was just genius in my opinion, and I love the fact that they did that, and it's something that they continue to use until the very last episode. The scene where Jonathan realizes when the lights start to light up, he realizes it's his mother and it's not the monster. I think that that's something that's really clever, and I enjoyed that scene very much. I also liked the final confrontation with the monster. Well, there were two final confrontations where you think that the monster's dead, but somehow it slips away. It's able to get back into the upside down like instantaneously. It seems there aren't really any boundaries for it. People have to go through the gate, but the monster just seems like it can instantly go back and forth. I don't know if it just kind of like melted through the floor and then it went into the upside down that way. I'm not certain how it works, but it does appear that it is easily able to come in and out, a lot easier than we are, than humans are, I should say. I felt like the ending was very strong, and at this point, that's when it really hit me that the character development in this is just amazing, because you see the chief and he's reflecting on his kid when she was dying of cancer, and it's really powerful stuff. I didn't expect to feel the emotions I felt when watching this, but at the end of this show, I have to admit I was getting very choked up, and I think that that's to the credit of the writers, because you really feel that character development. And when Elle just kind of disappears with the monster, she just kind of reduces everything to particles, is what it seemed like what she did. It's really sad, and you really feel that. And not a lot of shows can make me feel that way. As a matter of fact, there are a handful of them that have done this to me in my entire life, but it was extremely powerful. And then towards the end, when we got to see the chief going out, he was leaving food for Elle. And the only way you know that is because he left Eggos, which once again is just a reference of the 80s. Who doesn't remember Eggo commercials and Eggos everywhere? But it was very subtle the way they did that. They didn't just come out and say, "Oh, I'm leaving this for you." If you were paying attention, you happen to notice that she liked Eggos, you're gonna get the reference that, hey, she must somehow be alive. But why is he going out into the forest and leaving these things? Are these things left in the upside down for her as well? What exactly is going on here? And again, you have those questions that remain unanswered, but you're not frustrated by it. At least I wasn't. I wasn't frustrated by it. Sometimes you get to the end of a season and you're thinking, man, I sat here and I watched all of this and there just wasn't any kind of conclusion at all. All they did was say, hey, see you next year. This show did not do that at all, guys. It was very satisfactory. You had your final confrontation and you had at least some resolution there. Now, as I stated, I do feel like the show was very good at resonating with its audience. You had several different types of characters in the show. You had the kids, you had the teenagers, and the adults. I definitely resonated with the kids because I was born in 1982, so I was quite young in the 80s, but I do remember it. I mean, obviously nothing before like age 5, right? So I don't remember the early 80s, but just the fact that they had like their own little squad. You know, they were really tight, they were all friends, and they had like their own little code. That's something that me and my friends shared as well. And that's something that really, I hate to keep saying resonate, but it did. It really resonated with me because, you know, it's weird. When you get older, friends grow apart. And in my case, a couple of my best friends are no longer with us. They passed away in their 20s, unfortunately. So reflecting on those things is something that they're good memories, but at the same time, they're a little bittersweet. So that's something that really tugged on my heartstrings in a big way. And I can't say that that's something that's going to resonate with everyone. I really hope that it doesn't, to be honest. I hope that you have not lost any of your friends. But for me, it's something that made it all that more effective because I remember my friends in that way. And it's really sad, but at the same time, I feel like this honored their memory and it honored my generation. There's a certain innocence about this series. And I think it even extends to the parents because the parents are very trustworthy of the shadow government when they show up and they're kind of saying, hey, you know, you can trust us. And we're going after the commies kind of thing. Once again, they're referencing the 80s, the whole thing with Russia in the Reagan era. And I think that people trusted the government a lot more back then, way, way more back then than they do right now. But holy crap, I've been talking about this for almost 15 minutes. I don't want it to go too long. But I could talk all day about this show. It's just how amazing it was. All of the references they had from things from The Empire Strikes Back to He-Man. But nevertheless, the power of Grayskull compels me to wrap this up in a timely manner. However, before I wrap this up, there is one more thing I want to touch on. That's the intro and the music that they used. And I mean like the orchestrated, synthesized music that they used, not anything from a band. But I absolutely loved it, and I was looking forward to seeing it. I think this is the first show where I was actually saying, I can't wait to see what the intro looks like, because most times we just want to skip through the intro and get to the show. I did not skip the intro once, not once, and I don't think I ever will, because I loved that synth pop feel that they go with. And a couple of months ago, I made this video on a whim where I just took a bunch of 80s style synth pop music and put it together. I'm gonna have that up for you guys to check out, but I wish I would have held off on that so I could have fit the title of the show onto that video. The show absolutely oozes atmosphere, and even the introduction to the show has that static, that VHS type static, and I was hoping that they would do that with the intro, and they did do that with the intro. So everything that I wanted to see, all the expectations that I had for this show were met, and I absolutely cannot wait for the follow-up. And my only concern is that they can match this, because it was a phenomenal season. At this point, I want to kick it over to you guys. Let me know all of your thoughts on the show down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to rate it thumbs up. If you're new here, I ask that you please subscribe. I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.